Why are you being weak? What are you living for?
This is The Righteous Edge, and I am your host, Jack Bravo, where we are unapologetically Christian and uncompromisingly masculine. I'm here with my brother, Andy, a good friend of mine for a long time, and he's going to tell you a little bit of how we met and all that stuff.
Hi, everybody. My name's Andy Moore. Nice to meet you. I'm thankful to be invited onto The Righteous Edge. So I've known Jack since I was probably in junior high school. We went to the same Christian school together in Milwaukee, and I was on the wrestling team with Jack and his older brother, and so we all wrestled together. We had the same wrestling coach, and we came up together. And so life has kind of like taken us on our own separate routes, and then brought us back together because we both moved back to Wisconsin. So that's how we know each other.
Yeah, he's been a good friend of mine ever since we was little. I remember he was a way better wrestler than me.
That was a long time ago.
Man, you were a beast.
Yeah,
he was a beast, man. Y'all don't understand how tall he is. This is a tall dude.
That's what having a good dad will do for you. Is like
your dad was
strong too. Yeah, he will push you into a sport and make you be good at it. I remember my dad said one time, because I did baseball and football and I wrestled. And then once I got to 8th grade, he said, you got to choose one sport, because you can either be a jack of all trade and a master of none, or you can pick one thing and be actually good at it. And I was like, okay, well, I love baseball, but I guess I'm doing wrestling.
So basically, he was telling you, you better do wrestling.
Right, yeah. So cool.
You said you was going to ask a question or something like
that? Yeah. Okay, so what do you think? So there are virtues and vices, right? And there are certain virtues that I think that are applicable to both sexes, both men and women.
Okay.
But then there are also virtues that I think that it's a virtue for a man to have, but not for a woman to have. What are some virtues that are that you think are some of the most important for a man to have? What's an important
that
virtue?
A woman shouldn't have?
Not necessarily that she shouldn't have, but that are specific to men.
Okay, I think I actually, because I remember, like, I think I wrote some of these down.
Okay.
If I am not mistaken. And one of them, here we go. Top 3 virtues that I admire in a man.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, and I wrote this down because I had to think about it. Perseverance is one. And the reason why I say that is because a man, especially the men I respect, men with families, men with kids, men who are faithful to their wives, you got to persevere. You got to have long suffering. You don't just wing that. You don't just go into it willy-nilly and think it's going to come out okay.
Right.
Perseverance means that it almost reminds me of like doing a drill where you're dragging something for a long period of time. It's taking strength, but it also takes resolve. It also takes the mindset of, even though this hurts, I'm gonna get to the end.
Absolutely.
And that's one. So go ahead. Yeah.
So now we come to a part in the podcast where when I watch your show, I'm always thinking, man, it would be fun to get in an argument between two brothers who you like to use their mind, and they have the same foundation, right? We both go to scripture as like our first and last word on what the truth is. But the problem is that it's hard for us to find areas where we disagree. And when we talk about virtues, even though I might pick 3 different virtues, I'm not going to disagree. I'm probably not going to disagree with any of your virtues. Perseverance is such a great virtue, especially, and I think it's a great example of one that's kind of a more masculine virtue, because though I'm not saying that women shouldn't be perseverant,
right?
But like, let's say that you find out about a woman in your church and she's in a marriage where the guy is being like really mean to her, maybe even being abusive. You're never going to tell that woman like, hey sister, you just got to persevere through that. Whereas like, I've got plenty of male friends that are in bad marriages where the wife like doesn't respect them or treats them like they want to be in charge, and it's like, dude, you're like, you can't just leave, you can't walk out of this, like you're in covenant, you made a commitment in front of God at the altar. You got to stick it out, you got to like try to win your wife back to you. You have to persevere, and that's like such a male quality. Like there's a pastor I heard that says that women are like sports cars and men are like pickup trucks. If you see a pickup truck, nowadays you'll see like a $60,000-$70,000 pickup truck. It's spotless, chrome mags, all that stuff. It's like, that's not really a pickup truck. A pickup truck is supposed to be a work tool. It's supposed to be able to drive over the sidewalk.
It's supposed to be rugged.
Right. And if a pickup truck has a dent in it or scratches on it, it doesn't ruin the pickup truck. If you have a Porsche and it's got a big scratch down the side, it completely ruins what a Porsche is.
Yeah.
A sports car is to look elegant, is
Right.
to look beautiful, is to go fast, but
Yep.
it can't go off-road. It's
Well, you know what? Essentially, what you're saying is men are supposed to be rugged. We're supposed to work hard. We supposed to work ourselves to the bone. Women are supposed to be beautiful. They're
exactly.
supposed to be kept in care.
Right.
They're supposed to be in places where they're not hurt,
Mhm.
protected.
Yeah.
And because we have such a weak male society nowadays, we got it all screwed up. We got women out here working 60 hours a week, and then you wonder why they're so messed up in the mind.
Yeah,
They're
totally.
messed up because that's not what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be these objects that we look at and say, man, I'm saying, I remember this dude was like, my woman ain't never supposed to fart. Understood where he's coming from because it's like, this is an object of beauty. Just like they
Right.
say, as a man is never supposed to cry, even though that's not true. I understand where women come from, where they're like, dude, I'm not supposed to see the object that I look towards to be the epitome of strength in my
Right.
life
Right.
break down. Just like you're not supposed to look
Yeah.
at a woman and say, oh, that's gross.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We're talking about what's on a fine razor's edge because
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. When you're a man, you don't really want to let your wife see you cry
Yep.
because you're showing vulnerability, and she wants to believe that you are invulnerable. She
Mhm.
wants to believe that you're strong
Yep.
through whatever tempest comes.
If you
But
gotta
at the same
cry
time,
by yourself.
but at the same time, God created us as men. We still have emotions,
True.
and there are still things that are sad. And so, like, if you're not crying just because, like, you can't lie either. You have to be
True.
genuine, right? So, like, but I think a man should use discernment about when he cries.
Absolutely, I think yes, you gotta have self-control. I wonder if I've got that on my list. I don't know.
Okay.
No, it's not. No, I don't got here. Okay, I go into my second one because we
Okay.
could probably spend forever on perseverance.
Yep.
The second one that I have is boldness against all odds.
Mm,
And that means like I don't consider a man if he doesn't have things that he is willing to die for.
mm,
Like and what I mean, and I really do believe this. Me and my brother kind of believe this philosophy. If you don't have any principles, any guidelines, any like standards that you're saying, listen, I believe this and I'm willing to die for this. And I'm not talking about people, I'm talking about principles. Where somebody says, hey man, if you kiss another man on camera, we'll give you $100 billion. And you say, I will rather die than do that.
mhm.
That's what a man is. He has these principles. And the boldness to stand against the odds means that even if 1,000 other people are doing that, you are willing to say, I don't care who's doing it.
Right.
I know what's right. I know my principles, and I'm never going against that. And that I really respect that in a man, especially when the world is coming down on him.
Yeah. That is so true. You know what you're talking about there is that one of the most kind of hidden aspects of a leader is that they have to be with that they have to have that boldness to stand up for something that they believe in, because imagine what it would be like if you're following someone into battle, like, to use a
Yep.
military example, right? And somebody says to your NCO, or to the captain of your platoon, and he
Hmm.
says, hey, I'll give you $100 billion to do this, to kiss a man or whatever, even if it's just a joke.
In the platoon at war?
Well, whatever it is, just something that, like, he wouldn't normally do, but, like,
Yeah.
he can be bought. Then
Yeah.
it's like, well, what else would he be
Mhm.
willing to do? And that's a
Exactly. No,
silly
I agree.
example to
I
say, like,
agree.
to
No,
kiss
I
a
agree
man,
with you
but it's like,
100%.
if I can't believe in you that, like, you would rather die than waffle on this, then, like, I don't know that I can like, there's always going to be a seed of doubt there, you know?
You can betray. That's a way that we can assess if somebody's gonna betray you or not.
Right.
Because it's like, yo, if me and you are on the same page and we have these principles that we are willing to die for, and you willing to pay it or sell it for a lump
Yeah.
sum of money,
Yeah. Yeah.
then it's like, dude,
Yeah.
can I really
Yeah.
trust you when
Right.
my life
Right.
is on the line?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So next thing I know, you done shot me in the back because somebody paid you to betray me.
Right, and then
I
there's
can't.
this other kind of humorous aspect of it, which is like, let's just say there's this weird hypothetical example, which probably would never happen, but Mr. Beast says, "Hey man, I will pay you $500 million if you put this dildo up your butt."
Oh no.
And then you're like, oh, $500 million, man, I could buy a brand new house. I could have an in-ground pool. And then it's like, so say you do it and now you're rich. Like you can never enjoy those things that you buy with that money because it's like, hey, I'm gonna have Jeremy over to my house. I'm gonna show him my new pool, and then we're like splashing around in the pool, and you go, dang, Andy, this is a nice pool. Like, how'd you pay for this? Aren't you an electrician? And it's like, let's not talk about that. Like, you don't need it. Let's just enjoy the pool. Like, you'll never be able to enjoy it in the same way as if you paid for it with like your hard-earned dollars. Like, it's just ruined. Whatever you get with that money, that's blood money.
Yeah,
That's
man.
dildo money.
People, yeah. We're in a pool full of dildo juice.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, man. I don't like when people even like, I can tell what a man's character is even when he plays around with the idea. Like when I've had friends who I'm like, dude, would you do this? Even the dildo thing. Would you do that for 30 million? No. What about 60 million? Well, how big is the dildo? Now
Yeah.
I kind of know. No, man.
Yeah.
Now I kind of know you compromised. You
Yeah.
just added,
Yeah.
added a whole spectrum one. Now I'm like, yeah, so he do got to pay.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
he do got a price.
Yeah.
He just wondering how big it is.
When people say everyone has a price, that's when you kind of go,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not me.
I'm watching you.
Yep, everybody who says that, I kind of be like, you telling me would you trade in your family for something?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
would you trade in your kids?
Yeah.
Because it ain't a price for everything. A man has to have principles or
Right.
he doesn't stand for nothing.
And to take it back to something a little bit more serious, there are related but serious. There are some things, and I'm all for joking around. I'm a fairly insolent, like my sense of humor is
Yeah.
I like to poke at the things that you're not supposed to poke at.
Right.
That's fun to me. I like crossing over the line where they say don't cross that line, but there are some things, especially in a marriage, that should never be said by
Sacred.
yeah.
They're sacred.
And it's not a thing to joke about.
I agree.
Because like once you say certain things, you can never take it back.
Yep.
And like and that's something that I had to learn with age. I used to be, when I was in my younger years, when I was a teenager, I was like, oh no, everything's on the table. Humor is humor. You know, it's like,
man.
no, dude, that's a hard
Amongst
lesson.
men, we have these unwritten rules. And one of them that I know for a fact is you don't joke about a man's wife or his kids. It's only so far you can go with
Right.
that.
Yeah.
I don't go and call somebody's wife ugly. I don't go and say, I want to have sex with your wife when you don't joke like that,
Right, yeah,
dude.
yeah.
That's the good way to get yourself killed. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not, it's something I would never do. And it's something that the people who have done it to me in my life who try to joke like that, I put it a hand up and like, dude, if you say one more word about that, we gonna fight.
Mhm.
Even though we friends.
Yeah.
And I think every man, that's one of the lines. It's many more lines, but
Yeah.
that's one of them. You know,
Right, yeah.
some things that are sacred.
Yeah. And even like things that you say to your wife, not just to your
Mhm.
buddies about your wife, but like, or that your wife shouldn't say to you. It's like,
True.
sometimes I think we feel like, well, I got so mad, or they got me so mad, like I just say
Mhm.
anything. Like, no, you have to have. There are certain lines that we ought not to cross
Yep.
because once you say it, like you can't ever take it back.
I think as a man, one of the things that my dad has always taught me is when you get into a relationship, especially with a new woman and you potentially preparing her to marry, you want to put those lines up right away. Like, listen, we don't use profanity on each other when we get mad. I'm not gonna call you out your name. You're never gonna call me out my name. That is a red line that we will never cross.
Yeah.
And if you put those up, and she has this clear expectation of what you don't break them either. You don't be like, well, I got so mad I called her a bitch. No, you don't do that. And that's one thing we do in my family. I
Mhm.
never will cross that line with my wife. And if she ever gets so upset, because I think women are driven by emotions far more than men. But if she ever gets so upset and starts saying things that I think is super disrespectful, I'll stop her and be like, no, we're not even continuing the conversation because we don't do that.
Mhm.
And I think too many men don't do that,
Right.
you know? Well, the boldness, that's kind of off
Yeah.
topic of standing. The last one, sacrifice for his subordinates,
Mm.
sacrifice for those underneath him. I really respect when men can be able to say, you know what, for what it could be your kids, your wife, or anything, but a real sacrifice. A man, I never have looked at a man who worked 60, 70 hours, whether he could be working at McDonald's and look at him and say, well, so what? It's still McDonald's. You working at 60 hours to provide for your family. If you working, I don't care, picking up trash. I respect that. I look at a man and say, he's more of a man than other men
Yeah.
because he's sacrificing for those beneath him. So that type of sacrifice I've always respected from men.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's sort of the picture that we're given. Well, there's a lot of pictures that we're given of how God is to us,
Mhm.
but one of them is the shepherd, right? Like
Yep.
so Jesus is the good shepherd. Um, and what does a shepherd do? He lays down his life for his sheep. He goes out to fight the bear or the lion off to these little helpless creatures.
Mhm.
It's a self-sacrificial love, and like that's part of what it is to be a husband. That's
Yeah.
part of what it is to be a father.
Yep.
Yeah, I totally agree with
On
you.
the other side of that, there's nothing that will make me lose respect than a man who does not sacrifice. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like a man who has a wife and somebody break in the house and it was this streamer named Hunter Avalon. I don't know if you know. He had
I don't know
somebody
that name.
break in while him and his girlfriend were there, and his girlfriend, he ended up hiding behind her, and she got shot with a shotgun
What?
in the foot. And he hit, but he's one of these super liberal guys. If I find this picture when we edit this, I'm gonna put it up there, Mr. Producer.
Yes, we're
And
putting
this
it up there.
guy, like, he's notorious for being, I'm a woman, I'm a feminist man, and all this super
Yeah,
zesty gay stuff.
yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm just this super liberal left wing guy, and I love to debate people. And he made somebody angry on the internet, and they went and found him.
Oh, really?
And when they found him, broke in his house, he hid behind his girlfriend and she got shot in the foot. She didn't die, but she got shot in the foot as he admitted he was hiding behind her. And I just can't. There's no way on God's green earth that I could ever respect a man like that.
Well, there's also no way that that girl can ever respect him after that. And I don't know how long that they're going to continue to date after that, but it's a total waste of her time because eventually they're for sure going to break up because that woman can never. And this is I'm sorry to say, you women out there, the chickens are coming home to roost. I
Yep.
mean, men are not in the human species. We're not apes. So we don't like the alpha doesn't just get to like grab the female that he wants and take. Like we have to compete with other men, and
Yep.
then the women choose the partner that they want because we don't just like grab them by their hair and drag them away. But
Some of
so
us.
so what I'm saying is like when the women have selected for certain attributes, the men will just like conform themselves to
Yep.
be that. And
Yep.
when you say like, "Oh, I want this liberal guy who votes for Barack Obama because I think he's cool or whatever," this is what you get: is weak men who
Hmm.
hide behind you when someone breaks into your house. Can you even imagine in the 1800s an American man, someone breaking into their house and them hiding behind their wife?
I can't
I mean,
imagine
that
it,
just
man.
doesn't even fit in my
It
brain of something
disgusts me
that.
to think about. Like, I don't even know. This is where people probably won't believe me. It disgusts me to even like think of myself doing that.
Yeah.
It disgusts me to the point where I feel sick if I really was considered somebody breaking in there and me not fighting them off. I don't care if he was 17 foot tall.
Right. Yeah.
I would still have to be like, no, man, this is my house.
Yeah. Right.
You
Yeah.
must die.
Yeah. Yeah. For
I
sure.
don't understand this mentality these men have of like, well, we're both equal. And you know, feminism has done such great things that now she can take the gun and fight off the
Yeah.
intruder. I'll call the police.
Yeah.
I even think I heard him in a debate say something as stupid as, what did he say? He was like, well, it depends on who's better with the gun.
Yeah.
Are you
Right.
dumb?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I wanted to reach through the screen and
Yeah.
smack this little boy. It's making me mad right now.
Well, it's an equal partnership. So you go flank him from the left, and I'll flank him from the right, and we'll both karate kick him in the side of the head, just like I saw in Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, you do the Chuck Norris splits kick
Yeah.
and kick
Right.
them both.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good example.
They watch too many Marvel movies.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But yeah, that's all my three right there, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, can
Mr.
I bring up?
Producer, are we still rolling pretty good, or you want us to?
We're still rolling.
Okay,
Okay.
cool. We can talk about whatever.
Yeah. Can I bring up one of the attributes of?
Yeah, you
or-
can
or-
talk about yours.
Yeah, yeah, one of the virtues that I find. So this isn't my number. I guess let me give you my number one attribute, and then I want to talk about one that I feel like is kind of fallen out of vogue and it's not discussed anymore. Okay, so first of all, my number one favorite attribute for a man, and I always used to say it was loyalty because I think I agree with Dante, who wrote Dante's Inferno.
Mhm.
There's these 9 layers of hell, 9 levels of hell, and then like at the top, it's like the least egregious offenders of God are at the top layer of hell.
Yeah.
It's not really that bad, but as you get deeper and deeper into
Yeah,
hell,
I seen
it's
it.
like more torturous. And then in the very bottom level of hell, in the 9th circle of hell, do you remember who's at the bottom?
Judas.
Judas Iscariot, because the worst punishment is for betrayers.
Hmm.
And I agree with Dante that I think the lowest that a man can go is to be a betrayer.
Yeah,
And so I always used to say that loyalty is the top virtue
for
for
sure.
a
It's
man.
one of the most important.
And and that's what I said, but it was kind of a reaction to like I
Mhm.
don't ever want to betray my
Yeah,
duties.
man.
And I've amended it. I think I'm capturing the spirit of what I mean better with this word, which is faithfulness.
Mm, mm,
Faithfulness is more accurate than loyalty because faithfulness is you do what you say you're going to do.
mm.
And God is the picture of faithfulness. God is not loyal in the sense that I mean, obviously he's loyal, but you can be loyal
In a wrong way.
in a wrong way, exactly. So it's like I see people all the time that are like, yeah, my brother cheated on his girlfriend and he was being a real douche. He got her pregnant and then just like ran out on and didn't pay for the kid or anything. And it's like, but he's blood, you know. And it's just like this thing where we watch it.
Yeah.
It's like I'm loyal to my family, and
Mhm.
like in some sense, there's like a kernel in there that's true. But like you have to be loyal to your principles
Yeah.
over just someone because they're blood. Like you have to be able to say to
Yeah.
your brother, like, hey man, you're wrong here, you know.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that you're loyal to your brother's baby mama over
Mhm.
your brother, but like we have to be loyal to principles. And I think faithfulness is gets more to the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
And so like when we look at God in the picture of a husband to his wife Israel, they are a wayward woman. They play the harlot all the
Mhm.
time. They go and chase after other gods. But like God is faithful to his covenant. He doesn't break covenant with
Yep.
his people. And then when they screw it up so bad that they can never make it right, no matter how many sin offerings they offer, no matter how
Mhm.
many blood sacrifices they make, they can never repay their debt. God, in his faithfulness, makes a way
Yep.
and sends a way to redeem his
He
bride.
rescues her
He rescues her.
and with
Yes.
himself,
Right.
you
Exactly.
know?
So I think like faithfulness also includes like being true to your word,
Yep.
which kind of bleeds
I
into
think it's sad because what's happening now is what I've seen in this culture and especially in this younger generation, they don't even know what that means. I tell it's so simple to where if I tell, especially even some of my younger friends, hey man, I'm gonna be here at this time, they are not there, dude. And I'm not talking about 15, 20 minutes late. I'm talking about you gotta call them and be like, dude, you still call? Oh man, I made different plans. Like, dude,
yeah,
and it's not. I used to take it personal because I was raised around a bunch of loyal, faithful men,
yeah,
and so it was like very disrespectful to not do what you said you
right,
were gonna do.
exactly, yeah.
And it had me, especially when like I lived in Atlanta, which is a lot faster of a lifestyle than here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot faster.
Okay.
That it was more like you really, even with your friends who loved you, you knew they liked you, but they were just not faithful, man. Like they
Hmm.
would just be like, you would tell them meet somewhere, and then they would change plans at the last second.
Yeah,
Meet them somewhere else. Oh, we finna go here, and you'd be like, dude, can y'all just stick to y'all word?
right, yeah,
And
yeah,
then I found out it's a generational thing.
yeah,
They a lot of them don't have fathers, so that they haven't been taught the
right, yeah,
the
yeah,
importance of sticking to what you say you were gonna
right.
do.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I forgot to mention that's probably the most important aspect of it's easy to be faithful when it's easy, right?
Right.
Like when you're sticking with the people that you like anyways. Like it's easy to
Mhm.
be faithful to my wife when she's the hottest chick on the
Yeah.
block, right? But like the whole meat and potatoes of faithfulness is when it's not easy to do that.
Mhm.
So it's like you say that you make plans with somebody to get together with them for Bible study, but then a better opportunity comes
Yeah.
up, and it's like, dude, this girl that I've been trying to talk to at work,
Mhm.
she just said, like, I got a chance to go out with her friends, and we're gonna go out to see a movie tonight or whatever. It's
Mhm.
like that is a great opportunity, but you already said we were gonna go do this other thing.
Yeah.
What are you
Doesn't
gonna
it
do
kind of
in
go
that?
together too? What you said, like betrayal and stuff. Like it's
Yeah,
like, dude, if you say you were gonna do something, whether or not a better opportunity comes, you shouldn't betray my trust by going off with that better opportunity.
right.
It all like works together, and it all really leads into being a man of character.
Yeah,
If you're a man of high character, then you stand by what you say. You
right.
do what you say you're gonna do. You defend those who need defense, and I think for real men, those men of low character or low quality character, they really repulse you. You know, I can't even be in a room with a man too long if I know he don't defend his family. I can't be in a room with a man who lies constantly and I know he's lying.
Mhm.
Like it's hard for me to be around people like that. And too many people I see, like it's people right now. We have a whole culture who you can get famous by doing these
Yeah.
things, by being a despicable person.
Yeah.
There's like a guy right now, Johnny Somali or whatever. And all he does is go around and be a despicable, what do you, I don't even want to say low testosterone. Just a idiot person that goes around, he smashes stuff, he breaks stuff, he embarrasses stuff. He's one of those type of people that goes to a store and throw milk on the ground and have other people, knowing that other people got to clean it up, jump over the counter, dance. He does dumb stuff like that, and it's low character stuff where you would know if you're his friend, why would you think he wouldn't betray you? Why would you ever think he'd be faithful to you?
Right.
He has no standards, no principles.
Yeah.
I hate those type of men.
You hit the nail on the head when you said that there's a lack of fathers.
Yep.
Because I think the place that we find ourselves in this younger generation, and not everybody, there's some good young men out there that I've met, but like what we're talking about is instant gratification. I
Mhm.
can throw some milk on the ground and get a quick laugh. I don't need to think about the person whose job it is,
Yep.
who's making $13 an hour, who's got to come out here and mop this up or whatever,
Yeah.
when they already have to restock the back.
Mhm.
And it's like, but I don't care about that because I'm going to post this on YouTube and it's going to get me
It's gonna
100,000
give me
views.
millions of views, bro. It's a prank, bro.
Yeah, and it's the instant gratification. It's the, hey, I know I made plans to come out with you for Bible study tonight, but the girl that I've been trying to ask out on a date,
Mhm.
all of a sudden this opportunity came up, and now I have a chance to go do that.
Yeah.
But the where a father can teach you, this is kind of like a non-intuitive thinking. It's like, if you are faithful to your commitments, the type of girl that you will want to marry will understand
Exactly.
and appreciate that you are faithful to
Mhm.
your commitments.
Do you
Your
really want
buddies
that? Yeah.
that say, hey, come on, forget that, come out with us, those aren't going to be lifelong
Nope.
friends. Those aren't going to be faithful friends
Mhm.
because they are trying to tempt you
Yep.
out of being faithful. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
And they shouldn't tell you to do anything that goes against your principles if they know your principles. If they know, like my friends, I've had friends who invited me to strip clubs and stuff like that. But those who really were my friends, even if they wanted to go, they'd be like, "Nah, that's not what Jack want to do."
Mhm.
They know that. They wouldn't try to even. I've even had friends that would be like, "Oh, we ain't going to invite you out tonight because we finna do some dumb stuff."
Yeah.
And I respected that because they didn't want me to go against my own principles.
Yeah.
But those who always trying to get you to go against your own principles is like, no, you just want me to be in the mud with you
Right,
because
yeah.
you a man of low character.
Yeah.
You want me to do that.
And actually, the Holy Spirit's been nibbling at my conscience about this. And if I can get you to do it with me,
Oh,
a
no.
man who I know is a man
I'm
of
not
high
gonna do
character,
drugs with you.
then it'll make me feel a little bit better that I got Jack to come out and do it because I'd be like,
Yeah.
see, everyone's doing it. It's
Right.
normal. It's like,
Yep.
I'll just do whatever I can to like numb my conscience.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And if they can break you, then they feel better about doing
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's talk about the other virtue that I think has been forgotten about,
Mhm.
which is, do you remember a time when men were daring? That word is not even in our vocabulary anymore. There was a time when stories were told of knights,
Yeah.
a man who goes out on a horse to go slay a dragon and save a maiden, and the women would say, "Oh, he's so daring." Like that's a desirable attribute. And now I sit back and I'm viewing the landscape because I'm married now. Okay, I'm not in the market anymore, but I can see what young men are trying to become so that they can get chosen by a beautiful woman.
Yep.
And these women are not selecting for a daring man. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I know the cause of it too. The world has gotten so feminized with these helicopter moms and no fathers in the homes that a father is the one who says, go out there, get hurt.
Mhm.
And then come back to me and I'm gonna tell you how to do it right.
Yeah.
You can ride on the bike without
Right.
the training wheels. Once you fall, I'm gonna tell you more. Maybe you'll listen to me next time.
Yeah.
That's what a father does. And because we don't have these fathers to push people to be courageous,
Yeah.
they don't know how to be daring anymore. And they sit at home and expect, to win at life with their participation trophies. Life doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You have to, as a man, you have to take a risk.
Yeah.
Like even when you go, in fact, one of the reasons why we have a loneliness epidemic on the men's side, the women are different. We talk about this, but on the men's side, they're not daring enough because they expect life to be easy.
Right.
They don't want to go out and fight for a woman. They want a woman to come to them like they're ordering something off a lift.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. You got to go out, you got to conquer, you got to be the best.
You know that anything that's useful in your life that you've achieved, there was a risk involved.
Yep.
If you don't have any skin in the game, the only prizes you're going to win are something plastic and worthless that you could throw it away and get a new one.
Yep.
Anything that's valuable or worth having, you got to put skin in the game and you have something to lose. And that kind of goes back to one of the virtues you were talking about, which is self-sacrifice, right? So, but like, and I totally agree with you. But this speaks to like the beautiful design that God has made of two sexes. He made Adam and Eve. He made man and woman, and we are different. And it's good that we are different because a child needs to know that they are loved as they are.
Yep.
You are loved even though you pooped in your diaper. We still love you. And that's kind of how moms are wired.
Yep.
Is I love you as the person
True.
you are right now. And a dad is wired to say, I love the person that you have the potential to become, right? I love the future you. I love you. Not to say that the dad doesn't love you too right now, but
I know what you're saying.
I know what you can become, and I'm going to push you to do that, though you're scared. And I'm going to be like riding a bike, right? I'm right here, and then I'm going to let you go. And I know you're going to fall over, and I know you're going to crash. I know you're going to skin your elbow. And then when you come back crying to me, I'm going to pat you on the head and say, get back on the bike. Because I know that next year, you'll be riding your bike through this whole neighborhood going off jumps and stuff because I see the potential that you have. And that's what a man does. That's what a father does is because our dads did that for us.
Yep.
We fell down, we scraped our elbow and we got back up and we're like, wow, it was way better to get hurt for the skill that I gained versus running inside by my mommy and her shoving a chocolate chip cookie in my mouth and I never am going to ride my bike again.
Yep.
No. Dad knew better. And we know that like that scrape on our elbow, God made it so it healed and I'm fine.
Yep.
So like we know like we're not scared of the world. Go out there and get hurt.
Yep.
You're going to learn
scared of the world is one of the things that I'm glad you said that because what it points to is where does a lot of the liberal thinking come from? It's because men don't want to take a risk because we have feminized the world. And what I mean by that is liberalism teaches you that when you are out there, you shouldn't take a risk. You should be scared of everything. The government should coddle you and take care of you. In fact, some of the nature of woman is that does that is actually good. What it does is it says, I have 3 kids around the table, and as a woman, I'm not going to treat one special. I'm not going to give, oh, you earned food today. Johnny earned food, but Sarah didn't. I give them both equal amount of food because I love them equally. You want a mother to nurture and do that.
Yeah.
But the problem is when you take that mother out of that home and you actually apply that to government, that's terrible. You don't want everybody to get equal. You want people to get what they earned. And a father will tell you, okay, yeah, you guys all eat and your mom all gave you food because I love you. But when you earn your money, that ain't how the world works.
Right, yeah.
You get out there, you earn what you earn.
Yeah.
And ain't nobody just going to give you $10 just because you felt like you deserved it.
Yeah. Dads love meritocracy.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So, no, you're right on. I love that. And going back to the daring thing.
The thing about daring that's so crazy that we don't have today is they have the wrong perspective of what being daring or being brave or being courageous even is. They have this idea that you got to do something stupid.
Right, yeah.
And that's not what it is.
Right, yeah.
You have these people, like I brought up before, where you got these kids and they go out and they'll go into like, they'll just do something stupid. Like they'll just poke a guy that looks muscular.
Yeah.
And they think that's being daring and courageous. That's just being stupid.
Right, yeah.
I'm talking about why don't you do something that has some value to it that takes a risk? Why don't you do something like start a school?
Yeah, well, actually, no, let's go with that example. I love that. Okay, so some guy who's trying to get YouTube famous goes up and pokes some big muscular guy.
Yeah.
And what are the stakes? If that muscular guy knocks his lights out, he's going to sue the guy.
Yes,
it's going to be
that's
some
what they
pussy
do.
thing.
Yeah.
But you do that same action, which is kind of an annoying little like impish thing. But if I was watching a UFC match and Conor McGregor comes out and flicks the guy in the forehead off the bell, I'm not mad at Conor because they're about to fight.
Exactly.
So he's like trying to incite him, and then it's like, okay, let's go. Like I want to take on the consequences of like I'm trying to piss you off, and then we are gonna fight. The pussy thing is I'm gonna flick you or like agitate you, and then I'm gonna run away. If you're like, it's okay. I'm okay with you agitating, but then you got to face the consequences of it.
Yeah, but that's what I don't like about the world that we've created now.
Well, okay. Conor McGregor's not my favorite fighter, but I'm saying the context of it being in a fight,
No,
at least you're
get you.
willing to back it up, you know?
I get you. In fact, I respect men who fight it out. And I like the MMA for that reason. It's like what a knockout, drag out fight, put it on display.
Yeah.
The thing that I don't like of what we've done to the world is we've civilized it and made it child friendly to the point where now we can't even have people get the consequences they deserve.
Yeah.
You have these kids, they'll go out and just like you said, and one of the people that I have on my hate list for one of your questions.
Yeah.
All he does is he goes around and bothers people. And then when they try to fight him for it, then he gets his security involved. I'm like, dude, you started the fight. Take the punch like a man.
Yeah.
I don't see. And then you sitting up there and he's like, I'll sue you. I'll sue you. He says that. And I'm like, dude, if you're going to start that mess and try to be daring by going and touching this dude, you know, he don't even know you.
Right. Yeah.
If he turn around and punch you, take it like a man.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
I would have respect for that.
Right.
To be honest.
But I want to say one more thing. You were talking about how liberalism and that mindset has tried to bubble wrap the world and make it safe, you know, and we especially saw it with coronavirus.
Absolutely.
Okay, but play it out. At least they're being logical with their worldview. They think that this life is all there is. So why would you not try to preserve your life as long as you can? You know, hedonism.
Here's my problem, though. Even with that, because I'm not even serious. This is a disagreement, but what it is I don't have a problem with you being protective of your own life. Get out of my life. Don't tell me what I have to do.
But I'm saying, like, no, we're not disagreeing. We're agreeing. But I'm saying that that godless, materialist worldview necessarily leads you to live your life like a wimp. It leads you to not be daring. True. Why would I go fight a dragon? I could get flame broiled. Right, yeah. But when you know where you stand with the creator of the universe, and you know that you're loved, and you know that you're covered in the blood of Christ, and that when you die, Paul says, to be absent from the Lord is to be present to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. Right? And he says, is it better for me to die or to continue on with my ministry? He's like, well, I'd rather go be with the Lord, to be honest. But if I'm here, then I get to continue my ministry. So either way I win. When you have that mindset, it's incredibly freeing.
Yeah.
It's incredibly freeing. And then to be daring is nothing. You hear something go bump in the night, you're like, all right, here we go. Like, I get to go protect my family.
Why I don't accept weakness from Christians.
Yeah. Why are you being weak? What are you living for? The whole point of this is to give an offering to the Lord. Like, hey, you gave me 2 talents. I made 4 talents. Well done, good and faithful servant. Yeah.
The Proverbs we talked about earlier. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So here's my problem with this. How in the world are you scared of something more than God?
Exactly.
How can you sit up here and talk about, well, we don't want to offend somebody, they might get mad? Shut up, dude.
Yeah.
You're not a Christian to me, because my thing is, if you fear God, you ought to do what the people that feared God did.
Yeah.
If you look at Elijah, if you look at even Abraham, if you look at all the people, the disciples of the New Testament, all of them had this. When they accepted God, when one of the proofs that God was in their life was they had this need to say, I don't care what anybody else will do to me. I'm going to proclaim what God said for me to do. And I don't respect Christians who don't do that.
Right. That is the heart of a prophet right there. It's like, well, what am I going to do? If I don't speak the oracle that God gave me to speak, then I'm in way bigger trouble. Yeah. Like I have to do this. So can I share one story, one army story?
Yeah.
Okay. So
and then we'll wrap this section up.
Okay. So when I was in the army, we were going through the shoot house, and so your cadre, it's kind of cool. In the army, they've got it's like a house with walls and rooms from, like, you know, a center fed room or a corner fed room. And then you've got, and it's a house with no roof on it. And there's a catwalk up above. So your cadre is standing above so he can watch how everybody moves in the room, and number 1 man, number 2 man, and, like, you know, how they peel off of each other and clear a room. Right. So it's like you get a lot of reps in there, and you start out with blanks, and then you work your way up to you can do a live fire shoot house. And we were allowed to sit back and ask a bunch of questions to our cadre. And most of the time in basic training, you don't get to ask too many questions. If you ask a question, you're going to get made fun of, and you're probably not going to get an answer to your question. But in the shoot house, they actually let us sit back and ask a bunch
Yeah.
of questions because we
Life
had
or
never done
death.
this before. Yeah. And it's like, and they call it sharpshooting, where you just try to poke a million holes in something. And so we were sharpshooting the cadre about like, well, what happens if you go into a center fed room, but there's like a couch on one side, and then number one man, he peels off to the right, because number one man is never wrong. Whichever way, if he
You go
goes
the
right,
opposite.
then number two man, you have to go left.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what the plan was before. You go with based on what number one man does. So let's say number one man goes right, and he doesn't know there's a couch over here. Number one man goes right, and before number two man comes in, what if there's a guy behind the couch and he pops up and shoots number one man in the back before number two man gets in the house? And we kept asking, well, what if this, and what if this, and what if this, hypotheticals. And our cadre was trying to answer the questions the best he could, and eventually we trapped him in a corner with these what ifs, and he said, Sergeant, what happens if this? And then he goes, then you die. And we all kind of sat back like, whoa. And it became real, because up to that moment, it was like every piece of training we did, there was so many safety protocols. Like we had to have a road guard to cross a street. Like I'm 26 years old. I know how to cross the street. Like you're gonna trust me with a gun, but you're not gonna trust me to cross the street. And it was just like, you always felt like you were wrapped in all this safety. And then it was like, wait a second, we joined the Army. We might get deployed to a place where there are people who are trying to kill us. We might die. Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
And then it was like, once that kind of settled on me, it was sobering, but then it was like, oh yeah, like this is what I signed up to do. Like this is why I'm here.
Yeah.
This is what, like, if you weren't ready for that, then you're in the wrong job.
Yeah.
And so like, because my ducks were in order, because God gave me the gift of faith in him, and my relationship with God is right. It's like, I can go into that shoot house ready to die. And if we clear it, then like, praise God, but that was very freeing. And that's how all Christians, like, if you have your salvation worked out with fear and trembling, like what else is there to fear, man?
Yep. I remember one thing remember I told you I lose respect for men who don't have any principles. There was this guy I know who he said something and I just immediately lost respect, because the conversation was like, we were talking about how a lot of the apostles, how they died and how they met their end, and we were talking about that, and we were saying today how we live in such a world that people are scared to make comments, but one day we might have to face that same type of scrutiny, that same type of people trying to hunt us down for believing what we believe. And he was like, if it ever comes to that point, I need to live for my children. I don't need to profess Christ, because I think the Lord knows my heart, and who's going to take care of my kids if I die. And I was like, you coward, man. You coward. And you know why he's a coward?
Because he assumes that if he dies like that his kids won't be okay.
Yes. And not only that, but I can't live with myself knowing that I use my kids as an excuse not to stand on my principles.
Right. And then also that if you make that cowardly choice, that's not going to damage your children.
Yeah. Or then imagine it here. This is one of my worst fears. Imagine if you get in that scenario, somebody puts a gun to your head and say, do you believe in God? And then you says, and if you say, yes, I'm going to kill you. And you say, no, I don't believe in God. And they still kill you. Right. And you got to go before God and answer why you said no. I can't imagine coming to God with such shame.
When you read that verse, does it give you the chills when it says Jesus is speaking and he says, those of you who denied me in life, I will deny before the Father.
I couldn't take it, man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do it. I'll be like, yeah, just send me back down to earth.
I feel like the Holy Spirit, you ever feel like the Holy Spirit like gives you a thought, like he takes a thought on the end of an arrow and just shoots it in your head?
Yeah.
So I felt like this one time, God gave me this thought. Sometimes you'll hear people that pretend to act like the reason that they don't believe in God or they're not Christian is because they have a problem with God's justice or whatever, right?
They have a problem with they don't want to stop watching their gay porn.
Yeah, right.
That's their problem.
I think that's true. But they'll say, oh dang, I just lost my train of thought.
Oh snap, my gay porn joke took you out. He was reminiscing.
Okay, no, I remember what it is. Okay, so there's this idea that like the people that are in hell are gonna get a a punishment that's not commensurate with their crime. Like God's gonna be so harsh. His punishment is too harsh for the crime.
No, I don't
And
think
then
so.
I think the Holy Spirit put this thought in my head, which is that God is like God is infinite and we
Mhm.
can't know him, and he's bigger than we can understand. He's more loving than we can understand. But one of the attributes that we don't talk about that is so great that we don't understand is his justice.
Yep.
And it was like God is so just that those people who have rejected God their whole life, and that when God separates the sheep from the goats and the goats go away to hell, they are going to say amen to their own
Yeah.
sentence that God gives them, because it's going to be so clear what
Mhm.
like because God's judgments are so just and so perfect.
I always had this idea, and it built off a philosophy that my mom gave to me. She always said, "God can replay your life when before, so you don't have no reason to say that you didn't deny Him."
Right.
And I always looked at it as God will be like, "Listen, here's your life. Take back all the time you need, even if it take 1,000 years. Watch it, but I'm gonna play it with your thoughts and your intents. And by the time it gets back, you point to me at one point where you did a sin that was justified."
Mm.
And I think God can
Right.
do that.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah.
he could take that infinite moment into 2 seconds.
Yep.
And then when you get done watching it, you can be like, I have no excuse. I have no excuse. Here's all the times you appointed yourself to
Right.
me.
But yeah, and I'm even going a step further than that, which I totally agree with what you
Yeah.
just said. But have you ever, sometimes when we see a criminal get the results of their trial,
Right.
and it's a guilty verdict,
Mm-hmm.
and the family of the victim are there, and the camera shows the family of the victim, and it's not that they're like reveling in it or like celebrating it, but it's like justice has been served and like something right has happened.
Yes.
Like a perpetrator has been found guilty, and now they will serve the sentence for
Yeah.
their crime. This is right. This is just. Like
Mhm.
that feeling of like, oh, that's good that what just happened. And I'm not it's like when Osama bin Laden died, like the
Mhm.
US
Yeah.
got him. And I remember there was people partying in the streets and like drinking, and I feel
Yeah.
like this isn't the right spirit,
No.
but this is a good thing that like I feel like we
Justice
should
usually comes with like a solemn.
yeah, like a somber
Yeah, it's like we did this. It wasn't
Yeah.
fun.
right, but
Like,
it was right.
Yeah, but it was right, and now the world can heal.
Yes. I feel like that phenomena, that sensation or reaction will be felt
Yeah.
by the actual criminal as they're going to hell, and they're saying, this is correct. This is what I deserve.
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's my own
But
thought, but I feel like God is so perfect in everything,
Yeah.
including his justice, that
you might have a point there.
Yeah.
I never really thought about that way.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so what we're gonna do right now is
Okay.
we're gonna stop this section, and then we're gonna go into our live section.
Okay.
Andy, we got a bunch more questions.
That was one question. We went for like
Yeah,
40 minutes on it.
All right, we'll stop it right now.
48 minutes.
All
Nice.
right, Mr. Producer, we can wrap it up.